Hey guys, it's me Seren back with another video. This video is going to be one that has been highly requested. A lot of you guys have been asking me to make a video on homeschooling. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I tend to tweet about, education and the school system a lot. I have a video on education, which you guys can watch if you haven't watched it already. But I have a lot of strong feelings about the American education system, and my opinion that it is not working. It is not working. So I have a tendency to tweet a lot about school and the school system and education. And one of my tweets that's actually gotten a lot of traction is, Black people, if you can, homeschool or co-op your children. I want to put emphasis on if you can. I don't want people saying like, oh my God, Serena's telling me I need to homeschool my kids, but if I homeschool my kids, how am I going to work and how am I going to support them and put food on the table? I'm not telling anyone to like quit your job and like homeschool your kids, or that if you don't homeschool your kids, you're a bad person or anything like that. Like I understand, the things that go into homeschooling, and I'm actually going to talk about that a little bit later in this video. But I'm just of the opinion that the school system in its current form is not working, and Black people need to start thinking about other options, be it homeschooling, be it co-oping, be it, after you get off work, you do a little something extra with the kids, before school or after school, or we need to start thinking about other options because the school system is not working. I've been hesitant to make a video about this because I don't have children. So I always feel weird making videos about things where I don't have kids. So it feels weird for me to make a video about homeschooling kids, but you guys have been requesting it, especially people that follow me on Twitter have been asking for a video where I go a little bit more in depth on my thoughts, because as you know, Twitter has a 140 character limit, so I can only, go but so far. So this is going to be a reader request on Black homeschooling. Like I said, our current education system does not work on multiple levels for anyone, for all children, but especially for Black children. And there are a couple of reasons why. One of the main reasons is the fact that our school systems are currently embroiled in this school to prison pipeline. For anyone that doesn't know, the school to prison pipeline is a pipeline. It's a chute that funnels Black and brown students from the school system to the prison system. And a core component of the school to prison pipeline is the false belief that Black children are bad, are inherently bad, that they are more disruptive, that they have more behavioral problems, that they have more disciplinary problems. It's that inherent bias. It's that, inherent racism, like I say in my Yes All White People video. There are these ideas and these concepts about Black people and about Black children that are passed down within our society, and it's just this general idea that Black children are worse than white children, and this often results in more suspensions for Black children, more expulsions, just more disciplinary actions for Black children than for white children, even for the same misconduct. And this is something that we see echoed in the prison system and in the judiciary system, where you have Black people that will get longer, harsher sentences for the same exact crimes as white people, where white people might get a slap on the wrist. White people are the majority of the drug users and abusers in this country, and yet the war on drugs was launched against Black and brown bodies, and Black and brown bodies fill up the prison systems. And that is, a cycle that we see starting in the school system, where Black children are labeled as bad and white children are labeled as good, and Black children are punished, overly punished and severely punished. They're constantly punished. They're constantly being sent to the office. They're constantly being suspended. They're constantly being expelled. They're constantly being given 10-day suspensions and 12-day suspensions, and you suspended here and you suspended there. And what do kids do when they can't go to school? They get in trouble, right? So you also set up this cycle where you're sending kids to school, you're sending Black kids to school, a place where they're supposed to be safe and learn and be guided and be mentored and grow, and you have them being labeled as problems just because they're Black and kicked out, and now they have nothing to do all day except get in trouble, and what happens? They end up in the prison systems, okay? Like, that is a real thing, and that is something that's happening every single day in our school system, in schools, across the country. And even if your kid is not being, suspended or expelled, constantly being told, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're disruptive, you can't sit still, you can't sit down, you talk too much. This has also been proven to have an effect on many children who then start to see themselves as bad, as disruptive, as deviant. They're constantly, getting into it with these security guards and these principals and these authoritative figures. They end up with problems with authority. And again, all of this contributes to the school to prison pipeline of shuttling kids into prison and into state institutions, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm told all the time that I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad. Well, must be bad. Might as well start doing bad shit, and that is something that targets Black children in the school system specifically. Another huge issue that I have with the current education system are the lack of Black teachers and school administrators, okay? And this is another big, hugely driving force behind the school to prison pipeline as well, because white teachers and administrators, again, they often teach with an inherent bias. It has been proven, studies have shown that white teachers have lower expectations of Black children, that they are less willing to help and mentor them, even children that they know are in bad situations. It's like you can have a white child and a Black child, and let's say a white child has an abusive home situation, and a Black child has an abusive home situation. The white child will be given all this, oh my God, you're in this horrible situation, you need help, let me help you, let me mentor you, from white teachers who see themselves reflected in that child. A Black child will just be written off as, y'all know those niggers in those fucked up ass home situations. They don't stand a chance anyway. Write them off, kick them out of school, I don't give a fuck. It's been proven that white people do not feel empathy towards Black people. Yes, all white people, y'all already know how I feel about it. We need more Black and brown teachers in the school systems. Otherwise, these cycles are going to just keep perpetuating, because white people have an inherent bias towards us. They don't expect us to be shit. They don't expect us to do shit. They don't give a fuck about us starting from the time that we are small children in school, And of course, I will include tons of links in the description box for you to read about how white people don't feel empathy for us, about how they are less willing to help and mentor Black students, about how they view us as simply more problematic, less relatable than white children. They look at us and they see animals. They do not see children, It's been proven, look at Tamir Rice, that they view Black and brown children, especially darker skinned Black and brown children, males and female children, as being more adult, more aware of their actions, more in control. 12-year-old Tamir Rice, they said, Black male, maybe 20. He was 12 years old. They look at us and they see, like I said, adults, animals, criminals waiting to be thrown in a cage. They do not see children full of hope and opportunity and promise. And that is a huge, huge issue in the school system, because the school system is just another institution in our country that, was built off of institutionalized racism. The school system is not exempt, right? This type of racism touches us in every aspect of our lives. And when we were desegregated, not integrated, when we were desegregated and assimilated into these majority white school systems, these school systems that are still structured the same way today, this institutionalized racism was never addressed. So we still see it cycling with our kids. I don't have kids, but you know what I mean. With our kids in 2015. And it's just a really poisonous, toxic environment, to keep sending our Black children into, where they're seen as adults, as animals, and as problems from the minute they step into the school just because they're Black, right? Like, I was very lucky in that I grew up in a majority Black city, and I had a lot of Black teachers that saw my potential. I've told this story before. When I was in the 4th grade, I had a teacher that had a meeting with my mom, and she said, listen, I think your daughter is like a genius. Like, she's very, very, very smart, and we need to talk about possibly some other options for her, or putting her in some gifted programs and things like that. My 4th grade teacher was a Black woman, right? So who knows how that might have went, left instead of right if she had been white. I had a very good friend in high school that was super fucking smart. This boy was so smart. He's probably one of the smartest people that I've ever come across in my whole life. He was way advanced in the material. Well, we went to elementary school, and then we went to different middle schools, and then we went to the same high school. He was super advanced in the material. He was like breezing through the material, so he couldn't sit still. He'd be done with the material in 10 minutes, and he's bored now. He's bored. So he's talking in the class. He's cracking jokes. You know, he was funny. He was like a class clown. He's cracking jokes. He's playing pranks. He's talking because he's already done with the material because he's so smart. But guess what? In the majority of our AP and our gifted classes, we had white teachers, and he was constantly getting in trouble and constantly getting kicked out of the classroom and constantly getting put on these suspensions. Now, if he had been a white student, 9 times out of 10, those white teachers would have looked at him and said, wow, you are a genius. You're breezing through this material and now you're bored. Maybe we can get you some higher level material. Maybe we can work on getting you, maybe you can skip a grade, or maybe you can start taking some college level courses. But instead, they saw this black boy that could not sit still and would not shut the fuck up and start talking, and they saw a problem, okay? And that is rampant in our school systems. It's rampant in our school systems. Another main issue, so what's that, 3? My third point, another main issue that I have with our school system is the curriculum. We are still teaching a Eurocentric, colonized, colonialism, white colonist curriculum. The curriculum, the curriculum changes, but the curriculum is essentially the same that it's been for the last, 50, 60, 70 years. Again, the same exact curriculum that they were using in the white school system when they moved us as black people, black students, I'm not a student, but when they moved us as black students into these white school systems, that is the same curriculum that we are being taught now. And it is a Eurocentric curriculum. It is a colonizer's curriculum. It is a curriculum that paints white people as superior, that paints white people as the conquerors, as we learn about this American exceptionalism bullshit and manifest destiny. I learned about manifest destiny in school, manifest destiny is not a thing. Like, it's really crazy. Like, we learn about this whole idea of American history from this white gaze, okay? And it plays up white people's contributions to society while downplaying black as well as other POC contributions. And this, it creates this false sense of superiority in white people and inferiority in black people. From the minute you send your 4-year-old, your 3 or 4-year-old to pre-K or kindergarten, and they're learning about, Thanksgiving and Columbus and, the Indians. I know it's Native Americans, but what the type of language that they're using in the school system, and the Indians that were just so happy to help the white people. And then, the white people went out west, and, and then you just learn about everything from this white gaze. And there are no black people, there are no other people of color. And you're just hammered into your head that white people are superior and you are inferior, and that white people did everything and that your people did nothing. And that is not the case. That's just not the case, I've talked in other videos about black contributions to society and about this whole concept of, like I said, white superiority, and this is part of what I talk about in my Yes All White People video, where I talk about how we live in a racist society that instills certain beliefs that you then have to unlearn, right? And it starts in the school system with this crazy Eurocentric curriculum. Many black and brown students have trouble connecting to history that merely paints us as slaves or disenfranchised, and they check out mentally or they drop out altogether. There have been studies that show that a lack of ability to connect with the material that's being taught is a huge driving force in many black and brown students dropping out of school. And nobody seems to think there's anything wrong with that, and nobody wants to take steps to correct it. In fact, they're actually moving backwards in terms of revisionist history. The AP, the College Board, which does the AP Advanced Placement classes, they recently completely redid their AP History course, which I took when I was in school. I took AP History. They recently totally revamped their AP History course. They redid the textbooks. They redid everything because, the right, the conservatives, were complaining that the books and the course painted America in too negative of a light. So we don't care about honesty. We don't care about intellectual honesty. We don't care about, what actually fucking happened. We don't give a fuck about that. We don't give a fuck about the fact that white people came to a country where people were already living. They fucking wiped them out. They did a mass genocide against the Native Americans. They fucking killed everyone. They killed them with disease, with fucking guns, with alcohol. They pushed them into reservations. They went over into fucking Africa. They rounded up black people and they spread them throughout North and South America to work as slaves, to build our fucking society that we live in now, to build the whole entire concept of capitalism, which you guys know I am anti-fucking capitalism. They feel like putting all that stuff in the history books, oh no, that's too much. That's too much. That's too much. That's painting America in too negative of a light. That is not patriotic. That is a problem. They've been protesting the AP history course for years. Years they've been protesting. So finally last year, the College Board said, you know what, we'll just redo it. They fucking took out whole entire sections on what white people did to Native Americans. They took out whole entire sections on slavery. They took out whole entire sections on segregation, on Jim Crow. They took out, buzzwords that will make poor little white children feel bad. If you guys haven't watched Dr. Joy DeGrae's lecture, which you guys know I say that she's fucking amazing in every video, go watch it. There's a portion of her lecture where she talks about how a huge issue with the school system is the curriculum and this idea that little Timmy and little Susie, white kids obviously, that little Timmy and little Susie, they can't handle it, right? That is that white fragility. I talk about white fragility all the time. I tweet about it. I Instagram about it. If you haven't read White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo, you have to read it. It is this whole concept that white people, white Americans in the general North American, area in our American society are shielded from race-based stress, and therefore they are fragile and they cannot fucking take it. And everything in our society revolves around keeping little Timmy and little Susie from having to think about race, and keeping little Timmy and little Susie from having to deal with any type of race-based stress. And that's why when you even start talking about racism with white adults, because again, this is something that starts when we are children in our school system, and it perpetuates until we become grown-ups, they can't fucking take it, and they fucking snap, and they fucking lash out, and they get so angry because they're fucking fragile little fucking whiny crybabies. They can't fucking handle shit because everything is about making white people feel comfortable, starting with our curriculum. So now we have this revisionist history where we paint this idea of, America where nothing bad ever happened. We just pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps. And it's like, no, America is a place where white people fucking used and abused black people and other persons of color to get what they want. The same thing that they're doing now today, because they fucking have no empathy, they have no feelings, they feel like they're fucking superior, they learn it from the time that they go to school, it's perpetuated in the media, the TV shows, the movies, it's perpetuated every time a fucking white person kills a black person and gets away with it, and it's sick, it's fucking sick. Our society is fucking fucked up, it's fucked up, and again, it starts in the school system, and it's a really toxic place for black children. I mean, in all children of color, but especially for black children in this country, This fucking revisionist history is crazy. They put out new fucking history books in Texas last year that was just full of fucking lies. Everything we learn in school is a lie. Everything we learn is from the view of the colonizer. And, maybe that shit could fly in 1995, but nigga, we have the internet now, so I can fucking find out the truth about anything on the web, And they really don't want to completely revamp our curriculum because every time they try, like I said, the right and the conservatives and the patriots, they fucking protest and they say, well, you're painting America in a bad light. And really what they're saying is America belongs to white people. We're white, so we gotta be right. And everything needs to talk about how fucking great and amazing and wonderful we are. Otherwise, we can't take it. We can't handle this race-based stress because we are fragile little white fucking crybabies. That's what I hear. That's what I hear when white people fucking talk, There's an issue with the way we learn American history. There's an issue with the way we learn from these white teachers. There's an issue with the way that we learn in these schools that just want to push black people into fucking cages, okay? Everything is viewed through this white supremacist lens. Like I said, you learn about Thanksgiving, but you don't learn about syphilis and smallpox. You don't learn about what really made Thanksgiving fucking possible, right? You learn about capitalism in finance classes or economics classes, but you don't learn about the fucking cornerstone of capitalism, which was the American slave trade. What made capitalism possible? The fact that for fucking 400 years, they had a free labor workforce. That is what made all this shit possible, okay? But we don't learn about that in economics class. We have our oppressors teaching our children, which is what Malcolm X said in a very famous speech, No other race allows their oppressors to teach their fucking children. Jews go to their own schools. They send Jewish kids to their own Jewish fucking schools. Even if they go to the public school, guess what? After that shit is done, they go to their own school and they learn their own history, because you can't rely on your oppressor to teach your children. You can't rely on your oppressor to teach you your history, because they won't do it, right? History favors the winner, which is true. You will always get an idea from the fucking conqueror, and they're gonna paint themselves in a good light every time. You have to tell your own story. We have to start telling our own story and telling our own history and teaching our own children. We can't keep leaving it up to these fucking white people. Like I said in my integration video, we moved our kids into these school systems and we fucked them up. We fucked up when we fucking... Integration was such a fucking trap. Integration was such a fucking mistake. We should have stayed in our own schools with our own teachers, teaching our own children. And that's really how I feel about it, because the education system is racist fucking trash, okay? We have our oppressors teaching our children, teaching them this sense of inferiority, shaping their minds, and really instilling in them from the time that they're this big that they are worthless, subliminally, in one way or another, every single time that they go to school. It's... The racism in this country is so fucking insidious. People act like just because you can't say, like, nigger anymore, like, oh, racism's gone. Like, no. The racism in our country is really fucking insidious, and it operates on a subconscious level, and it starts from the time that we are children, And none of this even takes into account the other shit that's wrong with the fucking school system. The fact that there's lack of proper funding, that they keep cutting, they keep slashing the funding for fucking education, and especially public education, so they can give money to the prison system, right? Because we don't want those kids in school. We want them in the prisons, making panties for 6 cents an hour like on Orange is the New Black, or for free, because you don't have to fucking pay people shit when they're in prison. It's another form of free labor. We need more money going into this prison industrial complex. Fuck these schools. We don't give a fuck about them little black kids in school. Get their asses in the prison, okay? There's a lack of proper funding. There's a lack of materials. There's a lack of qualified teachers. You have, crumbling school buildings and facilities. I remember when I was in high school, my 11th grade year, a fucking wall fell. Like, a wall fell. So it was just like a building that we just, like, couldn't use anymore, because the building was just, like, so old and it was, like, falling apart. And that was in our nation's capital. So imagine in less prolific areas, right? The schools are fucking falling apart. My husband went to school in these, like, trailers, which I have never even seen before, but apparently that's, like, a normal thing. They don't even have, like, school buildings. They have, like, trailers that you have to, like, go into, Like, our school system is in trouble, right? Like, it's in trouble. You have overcrowded classrooms, with 20 and 30 kids. You can't teach like that. You can't learn anything like that. You're just shoving facts and writing shit on a board and getting the kids to memorize shit and then giving them a test, You have kids that are in high school that are barely literate because the fucking classrooms are so overcrowded and the teachers can't even give them individualized attention like they need to, You have fucking the constant privatization of the schools, with the schools getting in bed with these corporations and, giving the kids, like I said, just these standardized tests, because that's all you have to do is give them a test. The corporation gives you money to fucking give them these tests that the corporations, they print out the little sheets, the bubble sheets and this and that. You don't actually have to teach them shit. You just get money from corporations. The whole charter school versus public school debate. The whole fact that a lot of these charter schools have a high tuition. They're moving into these areas, and if you can't afford to send your kids to the nice charter school with the nice teachers, you have to send them to the public school that, again, doesn't have any money, has shitty teachers, is overcrowded, so they're privatizing education. Education is supposed to be for everyone, but they're privatizing it, so you can only get it if you're white or if you have money, right? The segregation of the school systems. New York City, still one of the most segregated cities in the country when it comes to the school systems. There's a lot of shit going on. There's a lot of bad fucking shit going on. You know, the list just goes on and on and on with everything that's wrong with our, you know, our current American education system. And even these things that don't technically have anything to do with race still hit Black people disproportionately because they hit the poor schools disproportionately. And who are the poorest people in this country because of institutionalized racism? The Black people, right? So I just really feel like the way that shit is going right now in terms of our school system, it's not working. It's not working. It's not working for anyone, but it's especially not working for Black people. And I just feel like we really need to start thinking about some alternatives or some additional things that we could do in addition to sending our kids to the public schools and things like that. Which leads me to homeschooling. Many Black people in this country, in America, have just washed their hands of the entire school system. And they are opting to homeschool or co-op their kids. A co-op, I'm sure we all know what homeschooling is. A co-op is basically a group of homeschooled kids together. So instead of you homeschool individually in your house, let's say you and 5 of your friends decide you're going to homeschool your kids. So you homeschool all 6 of the kids together, you know. So you have like a little class. That is a co-op. 10% of the very rapidly growing homeschool population in America is Black kids. And that is an estimated 220,000 kids, I believe. That's how many Black kids are getting homeschooled in the United States right now. And of course, as always, you guys know I will have links in the description box. This is probably going to be a very link-heavy post, so there may not be, you know, sometimes I do like a little blurb of what the video is going to be about. Probably not for this one because there's going to be a lot of links. But yeah, so that's an estimated 220,000 Black kids that are getting homeschooled right now in the U.S. It's funny because primarily homeschooling has consisted of white people that choose to homeschool their children for religious beliefs or personal beliefs. Like, oh, I don't believe in you guys teaching fucking evolution in the school system, so I'm going to like homeschool my kids and teach them like creationism and stuff like that. But practically all of the Black people that homeschool their kids homeschool them because of issues that they had with racism within the school system, right? None of them have the same reasoning. Oh, I just, you know, personal reasons or, you know, religious reasons. Like, no, the vast majority of Black people who homeschool do it because of racism or, you know, other racial issues. And a lot of them find that their children thrive in a homeschool environment when they were failing and floundering in the school system. I read a really, really interesting article that was about a woman who pulled her like 3 or 4-year-old son. She pulled him out of pre-K after he was suspended 5 times. They suspended a 4-year-old from pre-K 5 times, and the administration was pushing to hold him back. They wanted to hold him back in pre-K, and they said that he had all these like developmental issues and problematic behavior. A 4-year-old! What 4-year-old does not have problematic behavior? What 4-year-old does not fucking throw toys and throw blocks and hit and fucking bite? That is a part of being a fucking preschool teacher. Is fucking working with children on their behavior, on their impulse control, on their development. They suspended her kid 5 times and tried to hold him back. The school wanted to just wash their hands of him because he was a little Black boy, basically. They're like, you know what? We're sick of dealing with this little fucking Black kid. We don't want to deal with him anymore. We're going to suspend his ass, and then we're going to hold him back, and maybe, you know, somebody could do better with him next year, you know? And that, again, that's something we see throughout the school system with Black boys especially. With dark-skinned girls and boys especially. This idea of Black children, not as students, but as problems, you know, as problems. So the woman was like, you know what, fuck this. She pulled him out. She decided, you know what, I'm going to homeschool him. I'm going to make this work. I want to say she works a shift job, like as a nurse or something like that. She's a single mom. So what she would do is he would spend the weekends with his father. and she would work like 12, 13, 14, 15-hour shifts on the weekend. So she would do her whole, work on the weekend so that she could be with him during the week and homeschool him. And she said that in the homeschool environment, one-on-one with her, he flourished. She said that he flourished, that he was actually advanced. He was developmentally advanced. He was advanced in terms of, his grasping concepts. He wasn't giving her any type of behavioral problems because he was getting the one-on-one attention that he needed. And she ended up going to a play group with some of the other mothers, white women, that were still had their kids in the school. And they asked her, like, oh, why did you pull him out of school? Why are you homeschooling him? And she said, like, oh, the school, like, suspended him 5 times. And, they were pushing me to hold him back. And, they were saying he had all these, developmental issues and this and that. And they wanted me to, like, put him on medication, which is not even going to get into how they like to medicate little black kids and say that we have all these problems and put us on medication. She was like, yeah, and I just didn't feel comfortable, so I took him out. And the white mothers, their fucking jaws dropped. They couldn't believe it, and they ended up all sharing stories about how their children did the same thing and worse. And their kid was never sent home. And their kid was never suspended. And they didn't receive anything but a slap on the wrist and maybe a call saying, like, hey, oh, your son, didn't want to share today. He pushed somebody down. He bit somebody. He threw a block. He smacked somebody upside the motherfucking head. But since these were little white children, these were seen as, innocent little, oh, they're just kids, which is something that we hear all the time. That is a narrative that is pushed all the time, in the media, and, oh, this 19-year-old kid. Meanwhile, like I said, they will paint 12-year-old Tamir Rice as a 20-year-old grown adult. They will paint 18-year-old Mike Brown as some type of superhuman fucking Hulk. But meanwhile, 21-year-old Dylan Roof, who shot and killed 9 people, he's a kid. He's a kid. He's an innocent kid. He's an innocent kid. Again, these are narratives that are pushed that start in school. Even in the school system, white children are innocent kids. Black kids are fucking menaces to fucking society that have to be treated as such. And that is what we are exposing our children to in these school systems, and we have to really start having our due diligence and working overtime to undo all that shit that they're learning in school about themselves and about other people and about white people, it's just the majority of the parents, the black parents in these articles that I was reading, and they said, race-based bullying, race-based stress, having issues with teachers, having issues with administration. One woman said a white kid kept picking on her black son and calling him racial slurs, and the school wanted to suspend her son, not the kid that was picking on him. They said, oh, well, kids will be kids. Your son just has to learn how to deal with it. I think her son, like, hit the kid or pushed the kid. They wanted to suspend her son. Not the fucking little white bastard that's fucking bullying her son, calling him racial slurs, okay? There's always, until we, like, really start dealing with some shit in our society, there's always going to be, white people are always going to have an advantage. Like, that's just the way that it is. So we have to start, again, thinking differently in terms of, well, what are we going to do for ourselves? What are we going to do for ourselves as black people, And there's this weird stigma attached to homeschooling that is something that white people do. Y'all know how we get, black folks. That's something white people do. That's something white people do. That's white people shit, Which is like, well, we have more to gain from homeschooling than they do. They're homeschooling because they don't believe in evolution. Like, we're homeschooling because our kids are getting called nigger on the playground, right? Like, we have a little bit more to gain from really considering homeschool as a viable option, for black children. But the number one excuse, stigma, problem attached to pulling your kids out of public school and homeschooling is that black people are somehow, betraying the civil rights movement by homeschooling. Another woman in the article that I read, she was like talking about how her peers were like just so aghast and like so shocked to find out that she was homeschooling. They were like, our people died so that our kids could go to these schools. How dare you pull your son out of public school? Y'all already know how I fucking feel about that fucking bullshit ass integration. You already know how I feel about fucking busing our kids into white racist ass schools and letting our fucking oppressor, handle our brightest black minds. It was crazy. It was insane. It was insanity. It didn't make any sense. It was a trap, and it's one that we are still falling into today. No one died so that your children could, attend a school that is basically still segregated, so that somebody could call him a fucking nigger on the playground, so that a teacher that doesn't give a fuck about him could suspend him 5 times in 3 months, so that, he could learn this Eurocentric history that teaches him that he ain't shit anyway. Nobody died for that. No one died for that. Martin Luther King didn't march for that. Malcolm X didn't get shot for that. Nobody fucking died for that shit. We have this real attachment to integration, and it's fucking twisted as fuck. Nobody fucking died for that. People died for an idea. They died for a dream, okay? They didn't die for your children to have to fucking share, textbooks and desks because they're going to school in a black neighborhood, so it's treated like it ain't shit by the government. It's not giving any money, and the fucking walls are falling down in the school. Nobody died for that. And you are not betraying anybody's memory by pulling your kids out of those fucked up ass situations. Like, think, people. Think, okay? We fell for a dream, okay? And we're still clinging on to this idea of a dream, even when, the numbers and statistics and everything show that dream was a lie. It was a lie. It was a trap. It was a lie, like, no one died for that. And when I hear that, it just makes me like, no one died for your children, to like share books and get suspended 3 times in 1 week while learning about how great white people are from a white teacher. Like, I really don't think Martin Luther King was like, yeah, you know what? That's why I'm going to die. Like, no, like, let it go. Like, we have to start looking at the bigger picture, There's just overwhelming evidence that our current school system does not work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in general. It doesn't work for black kids. It doesn't work at all. Okay, it's the institutionalized racism of the school system was never dismantled, and we are really still feeling the effects of that to this day. And in addition to all the other fucked up shit that's wrong, it doesn't work, and we really need to start thinking outside of the box. I know that one of the main issues with homeschooling is the financial burden and like the finances, and that is a valid issue, not the don't put your kids out because MLK died. Buzz. No. Financially, though, who's going to pay for that? How am I going to work and homeschool? That is very legit. There are a variety of homeschooling tools and, preset curriculums out there that you can tweak to fit your needs, but they are expensive. They can cost like several $100s, if you don't want to like completely create your own curriculum. Like, they are expensive, the whole concept again of, who's going to stay home and do this? How am I going to work? How am I going to feed and clothe and house these kids if I'm staying home to homeschool them, and that's especially tough for single parents. I already told you guys about the woman that, she like works on the weekends and like has her son with his father so she can like stay home with him during the week. There's people that are finding ways to make it work. They switch off with, the other parent or grandparents or friends, and they work, when they can. They work at night. They have someone stay with the kid at night so they can work at night and homeschool during the day. And a lot of people are also finding relief in co-ops, which I talked about earlier in this video, which is groups of people that get together. So let's say that maybe one person says, like, oh, well, I work a job that allows me to have some flexibility with my schedule, so I can do it a couple times a week, like say 3 times a week. So, 5 or 6 people get together and they like drop their kids off at that one person's house, and they all pool their money together. They pool their resources to pay for the books and the materials and the curriculum, and to like also pay the woman, or man. And you also have some people that, rotate. So, the 6 or 7 of us will get together, and, Cheryl will do it at her house on Monday, and Lisa will do it at her house on Tuesday, and Beverly will do it at her house on Wednesday. So that, stuff like that. People are finding ways to make it work. Of course, some people can't. You just can't. There's no way to make it work. you have to work and your kid has to go to public school. And that is perfectly okay. That is 100% okay. Like I said, I don't want anyone to feel like I'm fucking telling them they have to fucking take their kid out of school and homeschool them or else they're a bad parent. Like I said, I don't have kids yet. So I'm not lecturing anybody on what to do with the kids that they have, the kids that are here, that have to go to school, obviously. But I do think that especially with the internet and we all have the internet, even if we just have it on our, bullshit internet on our cell phone, we have to start doing more, like I said, if it's in the morning, if it's possibly after school, if it's on the weekends, to teach our kids, what you learn in school is not the end-all and be-all of education. It's not the end-all and be-all of the history of this country. It's not the end-all and be-all of what has really happened between white people and black people or white people and people of color. We have the tools and it's free. Wikipedia is free to use, So I just feel like we have to start looking at, some more options, And of course, if you're rich enough that you can just quit your job and homeschool your kids, well, fucking great for you. Cause I know when I have kids, that's not going to be me. So like I said, please don't think I'm lecturing you guys on what you have to do. Cause I'm not. I wouldn't even have made this video if you guys didn't request it, cause I really feel weird about it. Cause I don't have kids. But people are finding ways to make it work, Now there's also the question that a lot of people have of, social interaction with peers and other children and, other adults and teachers and involvements in groups and sports and, things like that. But studies have shown that typically homeschooled kids don't, they're not behind in peer interaction or, social skills, and that generally they're more advanced in critical thinking and other knowledge-based skills because they are typically getting, that one-on-one attention. So if you're concerned about that, it's almost kind of a trade-off, sort of like what means more to you. Like a little less peer interaction, that can mean less bullying, less, dealing with racism in the school system, less anti-blackness picked up from classmates and teachers and internalized racism, Like I said, it's kind of a trade-off on what you feel comfortable with. And I also personally feel like there's a lot available outside of the school system in terms of, getting your kids involved in activities if you want to socialize them, play groups for younger kids, and also, there's intramural sports leagues for older kids. My stepfather actually runs an intramural football team that he does it for free. He just does it because he likes to do it, he has a little team and they participate in a little league. I think he maybe paid a couple $100s to get the team in the league, but I don't think he made the parents pay anything, or if they had to pay something, it was $20. Excuse me, and it's a little peewee league, so I don't even know if they wear padding or anything like that. But you have and I had another friend that started his own basketball league. They played in this was in New York, and they played in JCC's, Jewish community centers, which was free to play there, and they got a whole little league together, little teams. I think they charge now because it's gotten really big, but when they first started, it was free. Who wants to play? So there's I keep saying that wrong, intramural sports leagues and, rec center groups and, theater groups and, museums and libraries groups, which are free. And, tons and tons of libraries now have all types of activities and groups that you can go to for free. And then the internet, various online clubs and online meetups in parks and, all those types of things. And that's all free. And that can all lead to, peer socialization and interaction and making friends with other parents and making friends with other kids. You don't have to have your kid in a school system for them to participate in sports or theater or groups or anything like that. The internet was the great equalizer. I really feel like the internet really just turned everything upside down and gave us all these options. And our parents, I'm 27 years old, so our parents kind of missed that wave, but with us and the new generations coming up, we can take more advantage. Like I said, we can kind of step back and look at the bigger picture and maybe make some different choices if we want, if we want to, or if we, choose to. So of course this is all, deeply personal. These are personal decisions to make if and when you have children. But like I said, the way that our system is set up now is not working, and it's actually not just not working, it is hurting our kids, our Black kids. And we really need to start thinking outside of the box and thinking about, some different things, some different things. So I just wanted to make this video about it because you guys really wanted it, and it's really, really long. Oh my God, it's 45 minutes. I'm so sorry that this video is so long, but there's a lot to talk about, obviously, and this is an issue that I care a lot about and I think a lot about, and hopefully, when I have a kid, I intend on homeschooling or co-oping. I would love to start a co-op. That's really my dream, to start a co-op. It's getting dark. That's weird. Turn the light on. I would love to start a co-op or homeschool. Hopefully, if I have kids and I'm still on YouTube, I would love to start doing some alternative types of curriculum and maybe posting them on here, and maybe doing supplementary materials for you guys and lesson plans and lessons and stuff like that. I would love to do something like that. But yeah, this is just a video on Black homeschooling, because you guys wanted it. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. I know it's super long. I'm so sorry. I haven't made a video this long in a really long time, though. I've been doing good with the length of my videos. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Peace.